Hello, everybody. Okay, get this. I had a meeting for 10 seconds and Mike's already made a comment. My name's Joe Thompson. I'm the president of the Larry Dierker chapter. I have to say that and remind everybody, since apparently last month I didn't say it at the meeting. I'd like to welcome you to the November edition of the Larry Dierker chapter meeting. So before we begin, some people joined at the last second. All right, Bob Grant, Bob Copus, how you doing? How you doing? I'm going to talk about quite a few things tonight. We have a very special guest. We have Mr. Astro in the room tonight. Mr. Larry Dierker, is our guest figure?
Yep. Larry Dierker too.
Huh?
We have a member.
Yes, we do. We do have a member.
Larry Dierker. All right. Did I relate it?
It's a
a coincidence.
I think they know each other. As a reminder, though, I keep getting emails from SABR that says, please renew your dues, renew your membership. So if your membership is set to expire at the end of the year, make sure you renew. Okay, because we want you to come back. We want you to enjoy. We want you to see everything that SABR has to offer. So make sure you renew. We had two new members this month. Chris Roos from the Woodlands, Zachary Ryan from Port Arthur. Okay, yeah, hey.
Are they here?
I don't know. I don't think so.
Well, we got guys in Georgia here.
Yeah, well, we got Mr. Alabama right there.
Or Alabama. Sorry.
So,
Wrong southeastern.
Southeast. I'd like to thank Matthew's not here tonight, but I can never say his last name, Matthew Regimani. But yeah, that guy. He gave a great presentation last month about the 1968 Astro season and why it delayed, why it didn't start on time, and it was because of the MLK Jr. assassination. If you weren't here, it was a great presentation. He talked about Dirk for that game. So if you want to go back and watch it, it's on YouTube. So we had a nice turnout for that. Before we begin, though, I'd like to let everybody know what tonight's trivia contest gift is. And the reason I'm doing that, I've determined that everything I have Dodger-wise is going away. If they're going to ruin baseball, I'm not going to support them. So I have a Dodger, not really a Dodger, bobblehead that I'm giving away. It's Babe Ruth. So I got this from a friend of mine when I was in Los Angeles in 2017. He'd been a Dodger season ticket holder for I think it's a professor friend of mine. He's been a season ticket holder for as long as they've been in LA. And he gave me a great tour of Dodger Stadium in 2017. So I went, there's tours of ballparks, and then there's the tour that I got. I was in the Dodgers dugout. I was in the Astros dugout. I was in the bullpen, all geared up in my Astro stuff. So I think, again, I have something to do with the 2017 Asheville World Series victory. Because I was there. And I got the pictures to prove it. But he gave me that bobblehead. So I'm going to give it away to somebody tonight. Whoever wins the trivia contest. So, speaking of the Dodgers, I think this is something we can talk about probably in the next couple of months. I think we have a good debate. Is it finally time for baseball to have a salary cap?
Oh.
Yeah. I think we have strong opinions on both sides. So I think maybe the next couple of months, maybe a newsletter article or maybe a debate right in here during a meeting, we can have a talk about, is a salary cap needed or not? Because do we think this is really going to be an issue that's going to prevent us from having baseball in 2027? Do we think that's going to be an issue? We're going to have Armageddon again. All right. So I think this is something that we can talk. We had an event. Baseball. We had an event on Saturday. Bob Copus is here. Bob Durrell is here. We had a vintage baseball game on Saturday. Over 35 people showed up in Katy. We didn't think we were going to have enough, but I kept sending the word out. And in the end, we ended up with about 35 people that showed up. This includes players, friends, family.
But not Gloria.
But not Gloria. But not Gloria. So I'm going to show you all a couple of pictures. And Bob Copas, who is on Zoom. Bob, can you hear me? Bob, we can't hear you.
It's probably me.
Okay, hold on. The two managers are actually on the line. Bob Durrell, Bob Copas. So,
That's hot.
can both Bobs hear me?
I can.
I'm just going to show you all a couple of pictures of the event.
So.
Not sure why we're getting sound. Okay, don't worry about it. But both. Somebody say something. No, it's all right. All right, so go back to the first one. All right, so here is all of us at the end, and the players from both sides. We had quite a few kids show up. There's a blind Tom, who ironically, surprisingly, is actually looking at the camera to see it blind. He's wearing his very famous Whataburger jersey at the blind Tom. I don't understand that, but okay. And as you see, we had quite a few kids that joined as part of the fun. If you don't know, this is my grandson. That's it, right? Okay.
Players, good arm. First baseman couldn't handle it.
That's right. I couldn't handle it. You know, he threw me the ball. I said, take it easy on the grandpa. But he didn't care. All right, so go ahead. Go to the next picture. I'm going to show you all a couple pictures. There's some action shots. There's Scott. Scott, what are you doing? Scott showed up to play.
Game, you gotta hit it as first as that.
That's right. We have to, here's blind Tom getting ready to make a call. There he is, Bob, and me, and my grandson again. Go ahead. Thanks. All right, there's all of us Houston babies sitting in the dugout trying to figure out what exactly was going on, and I'll tell you why here in a minute. Here's some more action shots. The Red Sox. Go ahead. All right, and here's Bob, right away. How you doing? Another Bob. Bob Stevens.
Wow.
Scott, there you are again. There's Bob Copas on the mound. Katy City Park was a nice park, and Mike is saying, hey, that's a good place for us to have maybe future events. It was a nice little setup. One more, go ahead. All right, here's a couple more. Bob McCann, the chapter treasurer. It's a nice little action shot. Patrick Petty.
What it does?
And I forget his name. I think there's one more. So, if you want to know how it went, who actually won, this picture says it all. These two pictures here. That is our pitcher looking in the outfield. And these are the Red Sox running around the bases. And here's one getting ready to score. That's how it went for the Houston babies.
Wait a minute.
All right, that's very simplified.
The Red Sox didn't have enough players, so
Okay, go ahead, Mike.
you gave them our best player,
I didn't give them
Kyle
my ass.
third-degree Burns. He went 5 for 5 with the big RBIs. Should have given him one of the officers.
I didn't give anything away. I said they're going to need more players because they only had 6 people show up, right? So Mr. Burns volunteered to go to their sites. I don't know why you're throwing me in. So, but it's a fun event. The reason I'm showing you this is that the Houston Babies, your chapter team, is now an official member of the Vintage Baseball Association, which means that we're individual
Play 6
members.
games a year.
We have to play 6 games a year, okay, to maintain the status. So we were already talking about having a potential February game or March game. Okay, so I would like some of you here to please come out. We need all the help we can get because apparently we're not good enough. All right. So, but we won last year. We came back and won last year, but this year the Red Sox kind of ate our lunch because every time, I mean, it's literally every time we threw a ball, that's what the pitcher was doing.
Cal played,
Looking in the field.
Cal played the baby player.
So, please, if you'd like more information about it, let us know. Yeah.
Is the other team SABR members too, or SABR affiliated?
Bob Copus, we can't hear him. He's not really. We would like them to be SABR affiliated.
Just
Join
curious.
our chapter, you know.
He's been a member. He has been a member.
Came to meetings, but his car got broken into 3 times here, and he flipped out.
Fair enough.
Sure. Okay. Yeah, there you go.
But not all the babies are SABR members.
Okay.
Yes, being going to like on the third Saturday.
Thanks, Lucia. Most of the games are always going to be on a Saturday. We rarely have them any other day. Actually, they're always on a Saturday. Okay.
Would
We're
you
thinking
like-
Katy City Park. Normally, we play out in George Ranch,
And we were scheduled, the George Ranch had their Texian days Saturday.
and we were replaced.
So we were replaced by Birds of
We
Prey.
were replaced by Birds of Prey this year. So I don't. We were invited for next year, and I think it was funny what you said at the game, Mike, when you were talking about the conversation you had. Well, we don't like to schedule people 2 years in a row, and then you said something to the effect of,
Yeah, we've only been at it the last 14 years in a row.
so
We don't book the same act 2 years in a row.
But anyway, so we're gonna have to play more events, so we're hoping that maybe February would be another one. So again, you don't have to have a lot of skill, obviously, look at me, I can't catch you apparently. All right, so please come out.
What's the name of the association?
The Vintage Baseball Association, it's a national association.
Oh, it is.
Yeah,
So how many Houston teams are in?
well, right now, we are the only one. We're the only Houston team as part of that association, we just joined. So maybe the Barker Red Sox could join too. But
Sure.
How are we gonna find teams to play?
we're gonna play the Barker Red Sox for now, unless the Katy Combine, that's another team, right? Mike?
Yeah, their manager came after the game and invited them. He said, I can't believe y'all are in uniforms. I thought you were just going to show up. So he still has all their uniforms and, so we've invited him to join us to play. And he's a real nice fella. His office insurance guy is about 4 houses down from the ballpark.
Yeah, so there's potentially three local vintage baseball teams here.
And didn't we see there was a Dallas team and you were talking about having a road trip or something?
Yeah, there's also a Dallas team, so there's a lot of opportunity.
The problem is, you have to play 6 games a year, and we keep scheduling double headers and quitting after the first game. Too tired to play the second game.
Hey,
But it
don't,
was great this time because thanks to Patrick Petty, who's not here, he bought his grill out and he grilled us some hamburgers, some hot dogs, some Earl Campbell sausage. We had some potato salad. We had some cookies. Scott's wife made a pumpkin. Scott,
Now concerned with the eating.
yes, we are. Yes, we are.
We need to be hungry if we want to win, son. You don't let them get fat, you let them get hungry.
This was after the game, sir.
But look at that sky, what a pretty, it was
Yeah,
just so pretty, had a breeze.
11-1. That's when we played.
Yeah.
And we were out of there by 2. So just something to keep in mind for in the next couple of months. All right. Okay. Speaking of the next couple of months, next month. Scott. Yeah, there you go. I don't know why we can't hear you, Scott. That's all right. All right, Bob. Next month will be the last month of our Astrodome year-long celebration. And we have 2 great speakers. We're still working on trying to get Aspermani, but if we can't get Aspermani, Scott Barzilla has already volunteered to give us, and make sure I got this right, Scott, the almost Hall of Famer Astrodome outfielders, right?
Yep.
Astrodome outfielders. So we're talking about Gwynn, Cedeno, those Cruz, those kind of guys.
How true, guys.
Outfielder, right? Yeah, outfielder. And Greg Moore is going to give us a book report about the Astrodome building an American spectrum. Okay. That meeting is going to take place December the 15th. Last meeting of the year. It'll be a special holiday edition. I'm going to clean out as much Dodger stuff as I can, bring it to all of them, give it to all the outfield plus some gifts, things like that. Things I like to do at the end of the year because, hey, it is the holiday season. It's baseball. for 2026, we got 3 things I want to talk about real fast. Our first meeting will be January 19th, 2026. Astros Fan Fest. Every year, SABR, our chapter, has a booth at Astros Fan Fest. We need volunteers as soon as possible so that we can email the people at the Astros and let them know, hey, we're going to have a booth, and these are the people that are going to work. It's a volunteer thing. It usually goes from like 11 to 3. Couple of people every hour or so, or every couple of hours, can just sort of man the SABR booth. You talk to people who walk by about SABR. We have a few books to sell. We have give out baseball cards. It's a pretty neat little thing. It's going to be.
You said December, you said.
No, that's January. I'm sorry.
January the what?
January the 19th is
That's
the meeting.
Monday.
January 24th is Fan Fest.
Oh, okay.
We have a lot of books to sell.
We have a lot of books to sell. I'm sorry. Thanks, Brad.
And they're the ones that chapter wrote. What do they go for? $40 or $60?
I don't know. 40, I think. 40.
List price is 45. We
Usually sell.
usually
10
discount them.
dozen.
Right. And that helps to fund a lot of the stuff that we do
Yeah.
throughout the year. So again, January 19th is the chapter meeting. January 24th is Fan Fest. And January 31st is SABR Day. We have to find a venue for SABR Day, and we'll have a guest speaker. I'm thinking about asking Brian McTaggart to come right before he leaves for spring training again. So that's January. 31st. 31st is SABR Day. August 2026, Cleveland, Ohio, SABR 54. Hopefully you get a chance to go.
August?
August 2026. Yes. All right. For July 29th through August 2nd.
Okay.
Okay. Milton, Cleveland, downtown. Now I'm gonna shut up because y'all not here to hear me. All right? Thank you. I can always expect a round of applause when I'm done talking. Thank you. All right. So, without further ado, I'm going to invite our guest speaker to come up and talk to continue our Astrodome celebration. Everybody, Larry Dierker.
Thank you.
Thank you, Larry.
Thank all of you for honoring me with the name of this organization, because I know that people that are out there listening tonight and those that can't be here know what that means. It's basically that you've been able to do pretty well at what you're trying to do, and not just for 1 or 2 years, but for some period of time, which takes me back a lot of years to my rookie year, which was 1965, and the year that the Astrodome was the Astro first home ballpark after old Colts Stadium, the Colts, and now we were Astros. So anyways, things happened. To kick that season off, first of all, we're playing the Yankees in an exhibition series leading up to opening day.
What's the water, Larry? Right here.
Talk louder. Okay, no water. Water, it was about ready to show. How many of you were around Houston or aware of the 1245's Astros and Astrodome situation back when it happened? How many can remember that?
Yeah.
So when the dome opens,
When the Astrodome opened, I have the actual specially formulated natural grass that would grow without sunlight by Texas A&M, and when it didn't, before the year was out, we had AstroTurf. Anyway, some things happened in the exhibition series. Can anybody, Mike, can anybody remember the team that we played? An American League team, I think. First we played 3 games with the Yankees. Then we played 3 more games with this other team. Anybody remember some or other, something the Twins? But whatever it was, the Phillies was opening day in the National League. So I think we had 2 American League teams. I know 1 year we played Detroit. I think that first year was the Twins. And maybe because the Twins had Killebrew in it, and they had played the World Series with the Dodgers. Anyway, the first inning, the first game, somebody who's probably more famous than anybody we've ever had hit a home run. Anybody know who that was? Mickey Mantle. I was not pitching it. He hit the home run off Dick Farrell. He was the guy we got in the expansion draft, and he was a pretty good pitcher. Not good enough on that one pitch. So fast forward past the Yankee series and the next series. On opening day of the regular season, we were playing Phillies. And we had Bob Bruce, who was the ace of the staff at the time, pitching for the Astros. And Chris Short was pitching for the Phillies. About halfway through the game, Richie Allen, who had maybe been Rookie of the Year the year before that, was just recently inducted into the Baseball Hall of Fame, hit a pitch off Bob Bruce. It went right over the 390 sign in right center field. But Allen was a right-handed hitter. At the time, the Mantle home run that went over center field, it didn't really seem like it was so extraordinary. Nor did the opposite field home run to the line drive home run by Richie Allen. In the first week of the season, between exhibition games and starting the regular season, we saw 2 balls hit that we didn't see again for 50 years. There were a few home runs for center. There was one series where the Stars little Dave Parker hit home runs over the center field fence. But a home run over the center field fence in the Astrodome was rare.
How many feet?
It was only 404 feet, which
Good stack of air.
it doesn't seem that difficult, but I'm going to talk about a couple of more home runs that were like when we had the Cows Hill, it was 420 or whatever. That was nothing compared to Forbes Field. It was 457 in center. So they put the batting cage up against the center field fence after batting practice, because they didn't figure anybody would hit it that far to where the fielders would have to deal with it. But a few people did. And which kind of brought us back to Cows Hill, because if people made such a big deal about it, someone's going to get hurt running into that flagpole, or someone's going to twist an ankle trying to run up that hill. And what ended up happening is there were only about 5 or 6 balls hit up on that hill. The center fielder is not going to play up by the hill where he can feel his way and catch the ball. He's trying to play up to the normal distance where most balls are hit. So when somebody really hit one, it didn't go over the fence, and there were only 1 or 2 that went over the fence in center. Nobody got hurt because nobody was out there. They had to run out there and get the ball and roll back down. There's a really funny thing with Lance Perkins, catching a ball out there and falling down. It's funny if you watch it anyway. A couple of other things happened really early on in the Astrodome. one of the things, and there are only two of you that remember that opening day, and there's probably nobody that ever saw the countdown cafeteria. So the Judge Hoffines, who owned the team, was big on promotions, very creative, very clever. And he thought that people would like to go in and just have a cafeteria type feel. So when we were, one of the games, when the Yankees, we played the Yankees for the other team, let's say the Twins, we're gonna play, and we're gonna have what the Judge liked to do was a split double header. So we were gonna play both games, and the Yankees were gonna play the first game, and the Twins were gonna play the second game. But in between games, we went, the whole Astros team in uniform went up to the countdown cafeteria to have a meal. And the door, you know, there were big glass doors. And I'm an 18-year-old kid, and people are going like this. People crawling all over the place up in those ramps behind home plate to get a look inside where our whole team was in uniform eating lunch. You know, that's a memory that you can't erase. I felt like an animal in the zoo, you know.
Hope the glass doesn't.
Yeah. Anyway, it was a long time before anybody else hit an opposite field homer in the Astrodome. Later on, Willie started to hit a ball up in the pavilion seats, not the pavilion, into the box seats before they dropped down into the pavilion seats. And Alan hit that ball where they dropped down. I never saw another line drive home run to the opposite field in the Astrodome in all the games that I watched there. We'd seen that Mammal home run and then that Richie Allen home run, and of course those were some special home run hitters that could hit them a lot further in all directions than most of the guys in the league. But as players, we didn't really know. I mean, we kind of knew because we took batting practice, and the hitters were having trouble reaching the fences in batting practice. But this was going to be a different kind of home ballpark that was basically favored pitching and fielding, a little ball, stealing bases, bunting. And as the years went on, and we finally won in 1980, we won with a team that was based on pitching and little ball. And that was reflections looking back on the Astrodome. So it was all the way until 1971 when there was an explosion of home runs throughout baseball. And there was some suspicion that the balls were juiced. In 1971, in an exhibition game before the season started, Doug Rader hit a pitch from Stan Bronson, a right-handed pitcher with the Yankees. I can still see it. It was below his knees. It was almost like a golf swing. And he hit it up in the upper deck. But that was the first upper deck home run. But early in the season, it might have been the first series, I'm not sure. But we were facing Phil Niekro. And Jimmy Wynn hit the first upper deck home run in fair territory well, Doug's was in fair territory, but Jimmy's was in the regular season. Anyway, there were 2 home runs hit early in the 71 season, and 3 or 4 more were hit in that same season up in the upper deck in the afternoon. Since there hadn't been a single home run hit in the upper deck from 1965 until 1971, why these guys, I mean, nobody was talking about steroids. But, you know, how did this happen where all of a sudden they're hitting home runs everywhere? And they were hitting them in other ballparks too. So there might have been something to the story about the balls. Some of the images that I have that perhaps are of some interest, for things that impressed me as a young kid, being in that league, and the talent that major league players have, especially the talent that our own players have. There was a game at Old Colt Stadium, 1964. Down there somewhere. Anyway, Joe Morgan was playing second base, and somebody hit a blooper over his head out toward right field, and Joe Kirk, he ran like this, trying to book tracks. And the ball over here in front of him, he dove straight toward the right center field fence, and he felt like that and caught it as he swan dived into the outfield. But I'd watched the Dodgers when I was growing up, and I had watched a number of games. I saw all the games, and in all the games I'd seen, I'd never seen Fielder Mitchell play like that. This might be okay if you can pitch it. You have fielders that can do that. Yes, I never guessed that had fielders that could do this. Well, I was to see more guys. In Candlestick Park, maybe a year or two after that. And the guy on third base, we were in the field. Jesus Alou was playing for the Giants. He was on third. Batter hit a fly ball to medium deep center field. And Jimmy Wynn went back, came running in and did that. Threw the ball all the way on the fly, all the way to the catcher, and got him out. Double play. I don't think Jesus Alou even was running as fast as he could, because the fly ball was so far out there. Nobody dreamed anyone could throw it all the way without a bounce and get all the way in there and tag him. But not very many people remember Jimmy Wynn in terms of having a strong throwing arm, but he did early, and he had lots of injury. So that was another thing that I remember, and one that a lot of people bring up because it happened several years after that, after we had been in the Astrodome. There was a play that Roberto Clemente made in right field on a ball that Bob Watson hit. And it was sort of it was a shot, would have been a home run most places, out into straight right field. And Clemente ran after it like this, and he ran kind of like Cedeno. He looked like he was galloping. But he got to the warning track and jumped up like this and turned around like this in the air, caught the ball, his back hit the wall, and threw it back in as if it was no big deal.
Wow.
So if there are people that have watched almost every Astros game over all these years, someone will remember that catch. The one that people don't remember was actually a foul ball. It happened the very next night. And it was I can't remember who hit it, but it was a ball down the right field line, right along foul line. And Jimmy Wynn was playing right at, he raced after it. But he got to the foul line and it was like this. I think it was just plywood, but it was painted. It was just a short, he was right out against the fence, and he just cut across at an angle. Foul line went like this. So he wasn't that far foul, but he was trying to catch that ball. He was parallel to the ground. And he caught the ball, and in less than a second, he went head first into that plywood wall. And he was on the ground for a while. So now I'm thinking, well, that's Roberto Clemente, so everybody remembers that. It was in fair territory. It was our guy and all that. But the play that Jimmy made the very next night was, to me, it was more difficult in the sense that he knew he had to give his body up to make the play. And of course, most guys would have had the same, if they had tried to catch the ball like Clemente did, they wouldn't have been able to come down like that, like it was nothing to it. They would have been giving their body up too. So that's another memory from the Astrodome. There was a play where Cedeno, Cesar Cedeno was playing center. And again, I don't remember who was on base, but there was somebody on second. And the ball went into right center field. And this was after they had moved the inner fence in. They put a little flower bed out there. You guys, I know we're getting to the years that people remember. When they first put the inner fence in, they had to do something to decorate between the inner fence and the pavilion seats, and they planted flowers in. It was okay, and after that it was, I think it was at least halfway fair for the hitter, because it was still not an easy home run, but it wasn't like before. And Cedeno jumped into right center like this, over it, and reached down and pulled the baseball out of the flower bed. Turned around and doubled the guy off at second base. There was another double play. Yeah. How'd you like to be pitching and get a double play like that? It's a pitching. Another one that I can see, I know you guys saw this. After we traded Ken Caminetti to the Padres, and he made a play down the third base line that they keep replaying forever. They're still replaying because he was deep, almost by the outfield grass, and when he caught it, he was on his knees and he threw the ball from his knee all the way across the first base like a laser. Got the guy out. I saw Doug Rader made just as improbable a catch as that. Doug was the third baseman for most of my career, and he was as good as anybody. He won some gold gloves, and he was just very, very quick, had good hands, real strong throwing arm. On this play, somebody hit a shot to his left. He took about one step and he dove like this. He caught the ball on the hop. Did that. He caught a ball in the air and he threw it to second while it was still in the air. Then came down. I don't know. He's just a normal looking guy like me. I don't know how he stayed in the air that long. But when he did that, it was like.
Were you pitching?
See that? Okay, now I'm coming to something that I know. We talked about memories of the Astrodome. This is kind of like the countdown cafeteria. If you weren't around way back then, I don't think it was popular. It didn't stay there very long. And this was something that happened in the locker room. The locker room for us in the Astrodome was cavernous. It was gigantic, at least twice as big as any other locker room in the league. And the ceiling, it was concrete, but it had, I guess you would call them joists, were like that. And then it would go over it, and it would go down, and go back up like this, and go over, so down, back up like that. And they were, I would say they were up there 10 feet high, or maybe a little more than 10 feet high. And one day after batting practice, a couple of other guys like me, the taller pitchers, were running up and trying to jump and see if we could touch it. And so we're running and jumping and we're just barely touching it. So Jimmy Lynn comes over and he goes, "What are you guys doing?" "Oh, we're just trying to touch the beam that comes across there, we're just, goofing around." He said, "You mean this one?" And then stood flat-footed, jumped up and slapped his hand on both sides. He's about 5'9", So, what else we got here? Okay. So I decided to try to think about in my own opinion, and it's only an opinion because you can't prove it, but I thought when I started writing about these things that I remembered, it's Joe Morgan, it's Jimmy Land, Doug Rader, it's Darcy Daniel. And I thought, if I really thought about it, who was the best baseball athlete that the Astros ever had? Now we could spend days arguing this, but the more I thought about it, you know what? I think the guy, he didn't turn out to be a Hall of Fame player, but in terms of what he was capable of doing on the field, and I'm sure it wasn't just in baseball, the guy that was such an incredible athlete was Jimmy Wynn. I think he was faster than Cedeno. I'm sure he was faster than Joe Morgan. He had a strong throwing arm. He had home run power, sometimes tape measure power. Hit the longest home run that anybody can remember at Crosley Field in Cincinnati. And he was smooth. You know, a lot of guys like Cedeno, when he galloped across the outfield and caught a ball and turned around and threw it, you noticed. But if Jimmy went, he'd be scooping on, just throw it back in. He made things look easy. And for me, it's not just baseball, but it's any sport. The guys that make what's difficult look easy. The guys that hit a golf ball 350 yards and don't appear to even be swinging hard. The guys like when Tucker was playing right field, he'd go into the corner, get the ball, and it would be, next thing you know, it'd be on one hop right at second base. And as good as Cam Smith was, he couldn't do what Tucker did. But Tucker made it look easy. So it seemed like losing him was mostly a blow for the offense, but it was a blow for everything. He stole bases, high percentage rate. But Jimmy was like that. In fact, Jimmy, I think in 1965, he stole 43 bases and was caught 4 times. But that's it. And the way he ran, he's like a miniature Willie Mays. He ran like this. He didn't run like this. He ran like this. Nice and smooth. Man, what a baseball athlete he was. Okay.
I thought you were gonna say John Baker.
John Baker. John Baker. He was the most valuable raconteur of the team. Okay. Injuries cut him a little short, but Jimmy Wynn scored more than 100 runs 4 times. He drove in more than 100 twice. He's doing this in the Dome, half of the games in the Dome, by the way. He was voted Astros MVP 4 times. He led all National League outfielders in putouts 4 times. He led in assists 3 times. He made the All-Star team 3 times. He made the top 10 in OBA 7 times. He was in the top 10 in WAR 4 times. He was the top 10 in slugging 4 times. Yeah, I would say that Jimmy, he could do things and make it look easy better than anybody else we've ever had. I'm going to get you, buddy.
Yeah, the National League record walks with 142 until Barry Bonds.
Yeah, well, let's see. Where do I have walks? I forgot the walks.
That record stood for a long time.
He walked over 100 times, 4 or 5 times.
142.
So, the guys that made the Hall of Fame for us, Morgan and Biggio, Joe Morgan, obviously is MVP at whole league 2 years in a row. And it was a shoe-in for the Hall of Fame. Craig Biggio had to wait a while, but you know, his numbers are incredible. But both of those guys were intense. I mean, they were it was like they're protecting their wife and children when they got out on the field. And Jimmy wasn't like that. He was an easygoing guy. And he got hurt halfway through, and he didn't mind sitting down for a day or two. And he didn't have quite the intensity of Biggio and Joe Morgan. And the best hitter, I haven't even mentioned it, the best hitter we've ever had is Jeff Bagwell, and it's not even close. You know, if you want to go by the recent, you know, the way hitters are analyzed these days, I kind of knew that even back when I was managing, because I'd been reading Bill James and all that. And I knew, you know, that walking a lot of hitting home runs could help you more than a guy that could hit 300. We had a guy named Jesus, the guy that got thrown out by Jimmy when we had him. He played almost all year 1 year. He hit like 315. And he had like 57 RBIs and 58 runs scored, and 500 and some at bats, because he could get hits, but he wasn't that fast once he got on base, and he didn't get extra base hits, and he didn't walk. So now we have different ways of evaluating. And if you evaluate Bagwell, he's a little bit ahead of Biggio, not a lot, but he's significantly ahead of everybody. And then we had Rusty Staub. He didn't really get as good as he finally became until he left us. Rusty was, in terms of a productive hitter, hitting for average, hitting home runs, walking and scoring, but he didn't have the speed. So when you look at all of these things, I'm making a case for Jimmy. And so if we have time, I would entertain questions on that. And Mike, what did you have to say?
Something about Jimmy Wynn had the National League record, most walks of the season. And it maintained until Barry Bonds. I think they walked him 100 times intentionally.
Yeah,
In one season.
if you walk Barry Bonds intentionally, it was probably the best outcome you could get.
Wynn had 142.
For those years, and if you want to just have opinions, I think that the guys that were obviously the best among their peers should be in the Hall of Fame. I think Roger should be in the Hall of Fame. He was the best pitcher of zero.
Yep.
And I don't care what anybody thinks about who did what, because everybody had the opportunity to cheat if they wanted.
Roger was found innocent a year later.
Yeah.
After he got wrapped up in all this stuff.
Yeah. Anyway, all those guys were, some of them were suspected and never caught, you know, and so they are not in. Some were suspected and didn't get caught on their end. I think it was a shame, you know, that baseball became, it was sullied by the real evidence and the accusations that were never proved. And I think it's been a great game right on through that. I think it's, the sport has survived the Black Sox scandal. They survived the World War II years without the quality of players on the field that came before and after. It survived the strike in 80-81 and the cocaine scandals that were going on then. It survived steroids. As most of you know, if you appreciate the game and the things that you see, like these memories I'm having right now, when you see players do these things and you identify with them because you're pulling for your team, there's just nothing quite like it. You know, I wish the steroid thing hadn't happened, but really I wish all of that hadn't happened. But it did, and we're still going. So as far as next year, I don't know what everybody thinks they're going to do when they predict the number of Astros wins. And we were gonna be doing that pretty soon, right?
Yes,
And that was way below what they won, my guess, last year. Because one of the reasons was that without Tucker and without Bregman, I felt like they were losing a lot of offense and also a lot of fielding. They managed to get some pretty good guys in that trade though, and so that's, it gives a little more optimism. Cam Smith looks like he could develop into a star player. So who was the third baseman that got hit? Paredes. He looked, to me, he looked as good, if not better than Bregman.
Exactly.
So I have those hopes, but with all the guys that brought up from AAA, and I was reading before the season about we have the worst farm system, we don't have any prospects. And almost every single guy they called up performed well. Some didn't, but most of them performed better than what they would have been expected to be. So that can happen. Can it happen 2 years in a row? I don't know. I'm probably gonna go low ball with my prediction again, just because it usually boils down to pitching. And I'm not sure what, if we can pitch as well as we did last year with the guys that we have at this point in time.
two comments, one question on your last one, you talked about their outperforming the expectations of what they're rated in the minor. I do you think that has in the culture that you helped develop with Bagwell and Biggio when they get to the clubhouse? And Springer was a big part of that. The club came live and Springer came out. You weren't there, but think that has something to do with their forming so much over expectations? The Astro had the clubhouse.
I think I think the chemistry, the term chemistry as it is applied to any kind of a team where you think you get along well and you play well together and one guy picks up and the other guy lets down and you say, this team knows how to win. And I've always, not always, but the more I've thought about it, I thought the chemistry is like a chicken and an egg thing. Because if you start to win a little bit, it sort of catches on. And then you start to believe in yourself. And so the teams in the end that have the chemistry often are the teams that believe in one another and have a lot of talent, and especially pitching talent. So it's not that easy. I mean, it's impossible to say, let's get these bunch of guys because they'll have good chemistry. I almost think you have to start winning to get the chemistry. And if you start losing, it can be like we did in 2000 when I was managing. If you get to where nobody can get a guy in from third with no outs or one out, after a couple of months, it can be a reverse chemistry where you expect something will happen and you'll fail instead of expecting something will happen and you'll win. Anything else?
I have one more question about Jim.
There's other people.
It's all right.
But go ahead.
Put a sock in it, fella. Okay, thanks.
I was gonna ask you, all the catchers that on your thing, on your attention, who did you prefer to pitch to this month?
The best for me was Johnny Edwards. He was a veteran guy and he'd been successful and he made the all-star team and he was kind of in the middle of his career. We started out in spring training. It was 1969. It was my best year ever. And when I first started talking to him, he's catching me in the bullpen. I pitched to him in a game or batting practice or something. He said, we're going to go take the next step this year. Okay, what's that? I said, well, instead of just having great stuff and throwing strikes, we're going to start throwing breaking balls behind an account. you wanna throw a break, I'm gonna call for breaking balls. Down in the dirt with the guy on third. We can strike this guy out. Don't worry, if I give a breaking ball, I pat the dirt with my hand, throw it right on the plate. I will not let it get by. We can get this guy, we can strike this guy out, that guy can't score. Like he did a lot of things. That changed my mentality and my respect for his ability and what he could pass along to me as being my partner, my catcher, were, it was my best year by far. And the a few years after that, were pretty good years, but not quite like that one. That spring, after he told me that, I won 5 games in the spring. Which is usually, now I don't even know if they pitch 5 games in spring. So I'm ready to pitch a complete game on opening day. And so I ended up winning 20 games and 5 more in spring training. So I felt like I was as good as anybody at that point. And a few years later, I started being like Jimmy Wynn. I was kind of, feeling like I should be able to do this, but I can't do it anymore.
You mentioned that you were 18 years old when you came up to the Astrodome and you were talking about team camaraderie. Did you get hazed in any particular way or?
No,
No.
He was a big.
no, there were some things. There were things that happened while I was with the team, but it didn't happen to me, and I don't remember it happening to anybody that year. But remember other years where you'd have the rookie guy who would maybe a little full of himself and everything, and it'd be the last game of the series on the road, and they'd come back after the game to shower up and get dressed, and all they would have in their locker was women's clothing. And it was either, go naked or wear your uniform, or that was it. Some of them took that in stride, laughed about it. Some of them got pissed off. There you go, Mike.
Can I ask you now, Chris?
If you'll keep it short.
You talk about Jimmy Wynn, I always thought Daniel was the best, but I wasn't on routines, so I respect your opinion. But Jimmy was such a good athlete. Didn't know him then, but I got to know him here in the group. And there just wasn't a nicer, more positive guy.
Yeah, but you knew when you met him that he wasn't going to be the most aggressive, hard-fighting person in the world because he was just a nice guy.
Yeah, but he had 4 surgeries while he was here.
I know.
And he was always gonna get better, and he always got worse.
Yeah.
But he never gave up. And I just admired him so much.
If you take a guy that's 5'9" and 170 pounds, you don't expect him to be swinging a 36-inch, 36-ounce bat. But that's what he did.
And that home run he hit of Cincinnati landed in the house he grew up in.
Yeah, I know. He landed on a train or something, out over the scoreboard.
There's no mountain of that.
Yeah, Johnstone, Trinley, or even.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that, so I go to a lot of conferences and I sit at a table with strangers. And one of my comrades based on.
Tell me walk up here and make sure I can
Yeah.
hear you.
Okay, so I just tell them, they ask me my hobby, they tell them finish baseball, I tell them that's SABR, they wanna know what SABR is. And they always say, well, tell us a baseball story, and I have 2 stories I tell them. Your the first game you pitch, and then when you pitch the no-hitters. Those are the 2 stories I tell. They're just incredible stories.
Those are games that, trying to remember. Struck out Willie Mays in the first inning on my 18th birthday.
Right.
And Orlando Cepeda hit a 2-run homer off me in the second inning. And then we lost 2-0. And that's it. Welcome to expansion baseball. And then the no hitter was like
76.
a trip in time all the way back to those days when I could throw that hard. Because it just, when I looked up and it was a 7th inning, and now that's, I got an adrenaline kick. I was actually a hard thrower again. It's almost like, you remember that? Lance McCullers, it's the last inning against the Yankees. They threw all curveballs. Threw like 23 straight curveballs, and they just couldn't touch the truck. In no hitter, I went out there in the 8th inning, the ball started doing there. Anyway. That's, I did virtually the same thing in the middle of the season game with a team that was down in the standings, 9,000 people there. And at least 20 straight fastball. I didn't throw any other pitch in the 8th inning. Because when it's doing this, and they're popping the ball up and missing it, and they have to hit it over the fence in the Astrodome, which you're not, I'm going, I lost a no-hitter in Atlanta on a ground ball. The shortstop got in the hole, couldn't make the throw. 2 outs in the 9th, so I don't want a ground ball or anything that happens. It's either gonna be home run, fly ball, or pop up or strikeout. It's gonna be gas, right? That's what I remember about that.
So the way you tell the story is Bill Burton was the manager.
Bird,
You're right, and you asked to be taken out of the game in the 1st inning, the 2nd inning, the 3rd inning. And he kept you in there.
he knew how it was with me. He played years, probably a year or two beyond when he was at his best, so. And plus, who are you gonna bring out? That's the thing, when you're managing, you say, should have left him in there, well, okay, who are you gonna bring up? Because if you know the guy's throwing strikes, they might hit it to somebody. If you have a young guy that has stuff that could throw 100 miles an hour, doesn't know where it's going, that takes strikes.
Like, so we talk about, who coach should actually be a manager, managers, professionally,
I think,
not sure after that.
the question was, who approached me about managing? And that story was, that I'd had a series of injuries myself in '96. And I had my arm in a cast for the whole season. It was until about my birthday on September 22nd when I finally got the cast off. So I was having to keep my scorebook left-handed, to make all my notes. I had to be left-handed for a whole summer.
Roll up.
That season was the season where we caved in September, which is why they fired Terry Collins. And Terry was kind of he was emotional, he was electric. His personality was just, sparks would fly off. And I think they wanted somebody that could be more easygoing. And there was Tal Smith, who always believed in me from back as a pitcher and been with the team all these years. And I think the broadcast and some of the stories I did on the baseball library, I think there were a bunch of things that went into that decision, but I think it scared the hell out of Jerry Hunsiker, who was the general manager. And it was his job to announce the next manager. And I'm not sure he was wholly behind it, but I know Drayton was. The owner, Drayton McLean, who was a self-proclaimed cheerleader and a guy that liked to take chances and do things that were unconventional. Well, I think he thought that was right up his alley, but I think it was Tal Smith that made the suggestion, and nobody had told me that. Doesn't really matter now, but it was more of a challenge than I thought it would be.
Didn't shock either.
It's not-
It shocked.
It shocked me?
Yeah.
Yes. It did, because what I did, as soon as the season was over, I had a friend in Austin, and I left that same night and went to Austin. And the next day, we got in a canoe and paddled down the Guadalupe River, and I had my arm that was in a catapult somewhere. I had it in the water the whole way. I'm soaking my arm in the cold water and drinking beer, floating down the river. I get back to this guy's house, I got a call from my wife, and she says, Cal Smith wants to meet with you first thing in the morning. I said, oh, come on, it was only 2 days after the season. Anyway, I was glad I went back to talk to him.
One more. Larry. Any guess that the Astros, what your most fulfilling job at the Astros? It's had your walk there after your.
You know, the question was, what was the fulfilling jobs? And for me, the most fulfilling job was pitch. And pitch well, and, you know, be able to make an all-star team. And once I got to about maybe 26 or 7 years old, and I was kind of getting from one start to the next start, painkillers and cortisone shots, and it was a job. Once every fifth day, we had to try to find a way to get loose enough to get somebody out. Back then, we all had 1-year contracts. And so if you didn't want to play for whatever they wanted to pay you, your choice was quit. Which I did after the year I won 20. I just said, I'm not going to play for that. And I sat at home for 2 weeks while spring training was going on. And I finally got close to what I wanted, but not all. Because it's, you couldn't become a free agent. There was no time when you could go to arbitration. Your only choice was play or quit. Play is they could renew your contract for up to 20% less than you made the year before. So that's the thing that got challenged by Andy Messerschmidt, a Catfish Hunter, and after a few premium players played without a contract and went to court, and in court they said you can't lock a guy up forever without negotiating. And so that's when things got a little bit better, but not a lot better. It was almost 1980, I think, before I could have benefited from that. My last year was 77. I don't regret any of it, but the most fulfilling, if I had to say, I felt like I did a creditable job in playing and broadcasting and managing. But if somebody would say, what do you think was your best place? I would say broadcasting. And the reason I would say that is because broadcasting is what got me to invent the Baseball Library podcast. And I had 500 shows. Broadcasting was what got me into writing for the Chronicle. And I got about, 250 or 300 columns. It was, I think, what it expanded my ability to share baseball with you and with anybody that wanted to listen or watch. Because I think I've had that happen a couple of times, and it's probably the best compliment that I could receive or did. And that was, I always liked baseball, but my wife didn't like it. When she'd leave the room or go do something else. And then after you started doing the games, she sat down for a minute, you said something. The next thing you know, she was asking me questions. And the next thing you know, she was kind of watching the game a little bit. And you say, I just want to thank you for explaining the beauty of the game of baseball to my wife. Because now that she understands it, we share it together. So anytime somebody says, I like your broadcast or your writing or anything else that you did, for me, that's the biggest compliment. And I think I had some success of that in all three areas. But teaching the game, I brought some stuff here. I'm not gonna hand it around now, but, I don't know how many of you know that I've had this, charitable endeavor with school district out in Cy-Fair to introduce baseball to kids in the poor areas where they couldn't afford to join a league or get the glove or the bat and all the equipment. And so we'll have 500 or more kids this spring and early summer playing ball that wouldn't have been playing otherwise, and we've managed to raise enough money to start building fields. Fields are they're going to be ready for next spring. They're coming out of the ground already. The lights are up, the AstroTurf is down, and it's going to really be a showcase for our kids. And on let's see, I think we have the Joe, let me know so you can publish it when these dates are. The 29th of January, we're going to have an event where the fields are. And it's mostly going to be thanking all the people that helped fund it. So that we won't have the kids out there on that day, but then sometime in February, we're going to have an opening that might be more fun because I'm going to try to get some of the Astro players and Orbit, and we try to make it more of a festive occasion. So all of you are welcome to come to either or both. Thank you.
Thank you, Dirk. And you were talking about broadcasting, and I was too young to see you play.
I'm sorry to believe you were ever too long. Yeah.
You retired when I was 6. So I remember listening to you on the radio. So my real first taste of Dirk was when he was doing the play-by-play. So, and I listened to the radio and the Astros games all the time. So that's how I met Dirk and how I come to love baseball even more. It's because of what you did. So again, I appreciate it. Wow. For someone who wasn't wasn't old enough to still play, or at least remember. Anyway, all right. In the interest of time, though, well, actually, I'm sorry. Usually at the beginning of every meeting, we recognize guests, and we have one special guest that walked in. First timer. He signed up for SABR today. Jackson Gillard? Yeah. You want to tell everybody how you found out about SABR?
Yeah, my younger brother is a student at Astrodome, has taken one of his classes and is enrolled for, I believe, 2 more in the spring. So
there you go.
He said, I don't like baseball, but you love baseball, so you can go. What session day of the year?
Teaching grows SABR. See what I mean? Why? Oh, good.
You got it.
Well, thank you, Jackson. And your younger brother's name is Carter?
Yep.
So Carter, if you're gonna watch this YouTube video, thank you very much. And I'll send you that yes. I'll send you that thanks later in an email. All right. In the interest of time, though, we gonna push back the book report to next month. Okay. Or yeah, probably next month, because I don't want to stop Larry from talking. So we're gonna have a trivia contest now. All right, and our trivia contest winner from last month, Ted, is not here. But remember, you can work in teams, and Ted Meyer wrote this. There we go. Just nice. Oh, I did want to say one thing. Bob Stevens told me on Saturday when he was going to mention Dierker's no-hitter and its first game. Bob Stevens was at both of those games. So how many of you in this room was at least one of those games? Say it again, Bob, his first game, Dierker's first game and his no-hitter. You were at both of them.
No.
I thought you said you were at both of them.
No. And I said, I tell those stories every time I'm in the.
We were tired, man. We can't remember nothing.
Did you get free beer?
We have a pens, do we have pens?
All right. Never mind, forget that.
Yeah.
All right.
You like the.
Do we have extra pens?
Everybody have a trivia contest?
Anyone,
I could have swore you told me you were at one or maybe both of them. I don't. You need one?
Where's the sign-in sheet? Has it come around?
Over here, so when we close my own girl.
Didn't know we had a sign.
You have a sign-in sheet, somewhere around here.
Mine
somewhere.
has it, mine does.
I could feel it.
And remember, the winner of the contest wins Dodgers bobblehead Babe Ruth.
He never played this stuff.
You read the questions.
Here we go, right here.
Read the questions.
Yes.
He was a coach for the Dodgers.
All right. Question 1. Does everybody have a sheet there? Yeah. Since 1950, 2 MLB teams have won 3 world championships in a row. Name them in the years they won their 3 titles. 4 potential points, 1 point for each correct team. I'll do that. Do I need to read that question again? No. Question 2.
I never hated the Dodgers, I wouldn't use Dodgers for it.
What individual has the most World Series championship rings as a player? And how many does he have? Question 3. What individual has the most World Series rings as a combined player and coach? And how many does he have? You got all these already? No pen? Number 4, what team has the record for the highest regular season winning percentage since World Series play began? What was the year? Jackson, you got all these already? Yeah. Welcome to second. That's kind of how I felt on the first meeting. What is this? 5. What 2 teams share the record for most wins in one regular season since World Series play began? What is the record number of wins they share? I actually got that. Number 6. 2 teams have won 4 more World Series championships in a row since World Series play began. What are the teams and what are the years they won? Number 7. Due to stadium availability, player barnstorming, and overall funding, the Negro League World Series was played in only 2 eras, 1923 through 1927 and 1942 to 1948. Which team won the most titles in each era? Number 8. 2 teams have won 3 World Series titles in alternating years. What he means is years 1, 3, and 5. What were the teams and what years did they win?
He added there, other than the Yankees.
two teams other than the Yankees.
You do?
Yeah, he gave me a correction.
Oh, he gave you a correction, other than the Yankees? I got the first draft?
I got the first draft.
1, 3, and 5 itself, yeah.
And pay attention to number 8 here. Right, other than the Yankees. Number 9. The New York Yankees have won more World Series championships, 27, since World Series began in 1903 than any other franchise in MLB history. What other 4 franchises are in the top 5? Number 10, what current MLB franchise has never appeared in a World Series?
Would you get an extra point if we had
Yes, please add laughter and emojis and the little poop emoji especially. Give you a hint, they signed a,
Should have never booed Springer getting hit.
and they booed Orbit. So forget them. You don't boo Orbit. During the All-Star game. 2022. Boy, I just gave the answer. All right. Number 11.
What is that?
Since World Series play began, the series has not been played twice. What were those 2 years? Since World Series play began, World Series has not been played twice. What were those 2 years? That's pretty easy. More potential points, 2 potential, 4, 6, 8, 10, 13, 17, 19, 23, 27, 28, 30. 30 possible points. Everybody ready for the answers?
Pretty good.
Gloria, are you ready for the answer?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm ready to win.
All right.
Number 1. Babe Ruth bobblehead. Think of it that way. Since 1952, MLB teams have won 3 World Series championships in a row. Name them in the years they won their 3 titles. Answer is?
72 to 74, Yankees 98. Yankees in the 50s.
Yankees won 52. And then.
Not according to Ted Meyer yet. He's the only one mess. He wrote the content.
I wrote 5 in a row.
Number 2, what individual has the most World Series championship rings as a player, and how many does he have? The answer is Yogi. Yogi of Aflac commercial fame. Number 3, what individual has the most World Series rings as a combined player and coach, and how many does he have? The answer is Frank Crissetti. Oh, really? 17.
Coach, Charles, 6%.
He was the third base coach for the Yankees when they won. Under Casey Stengel when they won the World Series, went to the World Series 10 out of 12 years.
Number 4, what team has the record for the highest regular season winning percentage since World Series play began? What was the year? The answer is Chicago Cubs. 1906, 763.
Woo.
Number 5, what 2 teams share the record for most wins in one regular season since World Series play began? What is the record number of wins they share?
112.
The Seattle and.
One did not have Orbit.
2001 Mariners.
Seattle and Cleveland.
Chicago and the that team in the Northwest.
16.
Number 6, 2 teams have won 4 more World Series championships in a row since World Series play began.
Yankees and the Yankees.
What are the teams and what are the years they won?
34, 7,
Yanks and Yanks. This team won 5 in a row.
All right, see, the Yankees
Okay.
won 5 in a row, 49-53, so in 50, they won in 50, 51, 52, and 53.
Right.
Which was not a correct answer on the.
It's now the correct answer because it's in the trivia. So what you thought was right is now not right. It's not wrong. It's just not right.
It's
I have had a long day, whatever.
We gotta go with the answers provided, not ones we think we should.
I have to. Ted Meyer.
I trust you, Chris.
Blank, whatever. Romo, the hell,
You're a stat man.
This is due to stadium availability, player March storming, and overall funding. The Negro League World Series was played in only 2 eras, 23-27 and 42-48. Which team won the most titles in each era?
Raising them up.
Monarchs. Chicago American Giants. Home state
Bears.
Bears.
Right? Nope.
Pittsburgh.
No Monarchs.
No Monarchs.
Monarchs are all last. Oh, Pittsburgh.
Number 8. 2 teams other than the Yankees have won 3 World Series titles in alternating years. Years 1, 3, and 5. What were the teams and what years did they win? Cardinals.
Oh, yeah.
Giants.
I didn't remember this.
Number 9. Yankees have won more World Series championships since World Series play began in 1903. What other 4 franchises are in the top 5?
Cardinals.
Dodgers, Red Sox, Athletic.
Oh.
Red Sox have what, 5? Is that right? How many Red Sox have? 5, 6?
I have 9 on the team.
Yeah. 3 in recent history.
Number 10. What current MLB franchise has never appeared in a World Series?
Mariners.
That is here.
And it's like the last.
Very happy. Don't boo or win. Don't cheer when I'm too big at 2. Number 11. Since World Series play began, the series has not been played twice. What were those 2 years? 1994 and what?
So 3.
No 4.
03, 04, and 94. So we have 6, 8, 10, 13, 17, 19, 23, 27, 28, 30 points. 25. Who's got 25?
Let me add first.
Same with you. You got what? 25, James? No.
No, I don't have that many.
You may have 20. Scott has 20.
We got a winner.
No.
Can anybody beat 20?
Haven't added yet.
Mike is still trying to add.
Thank you, mind all. Settle down. That's what Coach said had to do for all his rings. Okay, I have something I want to say.
Only
All right, hey, Dirk has
14.
something he has to say. Yes, sir.
I want to say this to Samuel Barrett. I have your book.
Fantastic.
Dirk has your book.
I'll read it and let you know.
Sounds great. I appreciate it. I appreciate all your help too.
All right, Scott. Congratulations. Dodgers Babe Ruth is you. Joy.
You get,
Scott got 20. Can anybody beat 20? Nobody can beat 20.
no, I had 14.
15. Okay. Well, Scott, not only do you get to give the presentation next month, you also get to write the trivia contest next month. Double duty for Scott, as long as we don't have Esper Money speak. Okay, Monday, December the 15th. If you are interested in working in Astros Fan Fest, please let us know as soon as possible. Send us an email, John. If you have any idea, also start putting together maybe some ideas about Astros, about SABR Day. We usually get together, usually across the street at, what's that place, Mike? Across the street? Jack's. We usually bring a special piece of memorabilia that we share to tell the story about. I'm going to bring my official Toronto Blues Jays World Series shirt from 1992 that I had. I still have it. or 93 or whatever the.
And when is Sabre Day?
Sabre Day is January 31st. That is Sabre Day.
This
So
guy can find my beer cup from Larry's spreader.
there we go. And bring some other. But besides that, I would like to wish you and yours a very happy Thanksgiving. And we will see you Monday, December the 15th. Go Astros. Maybe